Defense hold their own today against the Texans. Spirited workout.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome in. It is Matt Derry, and it is a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on a joint practice, Lions and Texans Thursday, August the 21st and Friday, August the 22nd. Thank you for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. And that includes on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Please subscribe and watch us for free daily on the old YouTube channel. Also, I mentioned this yesterday, you can follow us and like us on Instagram and on TikTok, as Locked On Lions is there as well. The broadcast today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. We know this. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Jake Riepma, the host of the Lions Squad show here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the host of all the postcasts after Tigers games, Wings, Pistons, and Lions. He's going to join us on the show tomorrow. We got to recap what took place today in Allen Park as the Houston Texans are in town for a preseason game on Saturday at 1 o'clock. But today, the starters were out there. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, the whole crew, starters versus starters for a joint practice down at 222 Rodwood Drive, and a spirited practice, very competitive practice. We're going to get into that momentarily here on the program. Graham Glasgow got hurt today. Lower leg injury. A little bit of a surprise as to where the Lions went when he left. We will explain coming up momentarily on the program as well. Dave Phipp brought this up the other day. Lions special teams coach, they are going to continue with the experiment of having a linebacker returning kicks. I'm against it. Grant Stewart seems like a great guy and a fun guy and a high energy guy, but I don't get this notion that all of a sudden he's a kick returner. We will talk about that momentarily and a Josh Paschal update as well here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Shout out to our everydayers that are out there that listen to the podcast or watch the podcast daily. Appreciate all of you. If you missed yesterday's show, yes, we did share the infamous video of yours truly kicking a 20-yard field goal on the field at Ford Field on Saturday. Go back and watch yesterday's show on the YouTube channel if you want to see the field goal attempt, which I left short, but I got it airborne. And I probably shouldn't have just said anything because it looks from the camera angle from our man Turner, who took the video, it does look like I made that field goal. And Turner Batdorf was one of our everydayers and one of our great listeners, and took me to the game the other day. He always points out my kick, which was short, is still better than anything that Ryan Santoso attempted in 2021 when the Lions, of course, played in Pittsburgh. And Turner was at that game when Santoso, of course, missed that field goal in overtime. That was the Lions lose to the Steelers Mason Rudolph game where Jared Goff basically was playing with one arm. He couldn't even throw, and the Lions weren't going to like Tim Boyle or anybody else. So yeah, check out that video from yesterday. All right. Lions had the Texans in town for the joint practice today. A couple of observations from the people that were on the boots on the ground there. But first things first, the defense of the Lions against the Houston offense, it was like a draw. But early on, the Lions defense did a really good job. They forced 4 Texans turnovers, 4. That included an interception from Kirby Joseph. That included an interception from Ian Kennelly, who is trying to make the roster. And is a guy that has some potential maybe to make it as a backup safety. We'll see. But the Lions defense did a heck of a job today in just their battles, I guess, with a pretty darn good Houston offense led by C.J. Stroud, I mentioned before, and Collins and everything else. So they were able to create takeaways today, something they have not really been able to do in the preseason. Now, again, Kirby Joseph's playing. Brian Branch is playing. DJ Reed is playing. Terrion Arnold was out there today balling. All right. And healthy again, coming back from a hamstring injury that has kept him sidelined for a lot of camp. And yes, Nico Collins got the best of the Lions on occasion, but to get 4 turnovers, to force 4 turnovers, for your defensive backs to be making plays is a great sign for this defense. Texans have a ton of weapons along that offense. Very good receiving core out there. The first round pick Higgins has a lot of speed. I mentioned Collins before. They're running backs. Everybody, and Stroud's legit. We know this from 2 years ago in his rookie year. But the defensive backs today showed up, at least early on, and forced some turnovers, and that was great to see. Another note from today and the joint practice with the Texans is the play of Alex Anzalone. Texted a couple people today that said Anzalone was flying around the football, had a very, very good practice, and was making plays. And you look at all the people, we talked about this yesterday. You look at the detractors of the Lions. You look at the people nationally that say maybe the Lions just aren't what they were. Maybe they're going to take a step back. And look, they won 15 games last year. I'm not predicting them to go 15-2, not with this schedule, not with having to play at Green Bay to open the season, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, at Philadelphia, at Washington. Who am I forgetting here? I mentioned Philadelphia. At the Rams. That road's Kansas City. The Lions road schedule is brutal. All right. But I love the depth they have at linebacker. All right. This is with Malcolm Rodriguez not even there yet. Zach Cunningham has had a really good camp, and he's a professional. But Anzalone today starred in this session. And it's all you can ask for. It's all you want out of your team is for players like Anzalone, a veteran, a captain, to show up and do his thing. And that's a great sign. He was very good. Amik Robertson today, I got a couple people texting me, interception, looked pretty good. Tyleik Williams was the most active of the interior defensive linemen. So you love it. You love to hear about the defense doing the job. Now, again, later on in the practice, Christian Kirk got loose a little bit. Nico Collins got loose and everything else. But, man, if this defense can play the way it's capable of, you throw an Anzalone in there playing at a high level despite all the contract stuff, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Zach Cunningham, Rodrigo when he comes back. I'm excited to see what this defense is going to look like. And I think Aaron Glenn did a whale of a job as D coordinator. And the defense got better every year. And the talent level is high. All right. And we know the injuries that are there. Aleem McNeil. We'll talk about Josh Paschal. But this is not a team facing a mediocre to average Miami team. Houston is going to win the AFC South. They just are. I don't see the Colts with Daniel Jones doing it. I don't see Jacksonville, even though I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't see them winning that division. Tennessee, please. They have a rookie quarterback. But Houston's solid. And the Lions stood toe-to-toe with them today. Offense continues to do what they do best in terms of protection for Jared Goff was pretty good today. St. Brown doing his thing. The Lions have a lot of talent. I'm not worried about this team as much as some people nationally. We talked about it yesterday. Colin Cowherd saying they're the 10th best team in the NFL. I don't see it. Saturday certainly should be interesting with the backups and everything else. One concern, certainly, Graham Glasgow leaving practice today with a lower leg injury. We will get into details on that and who is taking his place. Coming up next, right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. We told you about it. It's coming up next week, August 26th. It's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. Who could it be? All right, for MVP. I heard some people talking about Justin Jefferson once he gets healthy. Crown your surprise division champ right here in August with a futures bet. There's some folks high on Carolina. Could the Panthers sneak in and win the NFC South with improved Bryce Young and a better team? Or parlay your division winner, dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only, August the 26th. FanDuel, play your game. By the way, I got to give a shout out to a Lions legend who was in the building today down in Allen Park. Yes, Robert Paschal, good old number 91, was in attendance at Lions practice today down in Allen Park. Paschal had a really good career. And I know there were times that maybe he didn't look the part of a guy that gave it his all. But there were people that unfairly used to label him as every other play Paschal. Robert was a quiet guy who just went about his business. And on some pretty bad Lions teams in the 90s, and some decent ones too that made the playoffs, but Robert was a really, really good player and a gentleman, man. He didn't like some questions sometimes in the media and everything else, but always treated me very well. He was amongst the former Lions that were at training camp today. And Chris Long from the Green Light podcast also was at training camp today doing some interviews. Panay Sewell, Dan Campbell. So if you're a podcast, look, you guys listen to me on Locked On Lions. I always tell you there's other really good podcasts. The Lions Collective podcast is new with Justin Rogers and that crew with Colton and stuff, Colton Pouncey. Pride of Detroit does a great POD podcast. There's tons of others that I'm forgetting, but Green Light is a good one talking football. Chris Long is very, very entertaining, and he had some of those guys on, mentioned Campbell, Sewell, and others from Allen Park today. All right, here's the latest on Graham Glasgow. The starting center for the Lions left practice early today with an apparent lower leg injury. Glasgow was slow to get up in a rep during team drills, left the field slowly on his own, didn't need any assistance, which is a good sign. But Glasgow leaving with a lower leg injury. And you ask the question, well, who would be the backup center right now? Because as we know, we talked about it a lot, Tate Ratledge, the Lions' second-round pick, who had been repping at center early in camp, has not repped at center at all the last couple of weeks. So instead today, going in his place was Kingsley Egwakin. This is a guy whose name I've mispronounced all the last 2 years. But Kingsley Egwakin was the backup center today, not Tate Ratledge. The big guy Kingsley, when given an opportunity, when he hasn't been injured, has been extremely serviceable for the Lions. The issue with him has just been health and opportunity. But he was the next man up with the first team offensive line today, losing Graham Glasgow. Let me just say this. They need Graham Glasgow as a part of this thing. I think that this was almost a hand-picked Jared Goff situation, where I believe that Goff looked up as they were working out Frank Ragnow's retired. Do you see where my brain is? When they were talking about Tate Ratledge, and trying to maybe give him the opportunity, I really believe that Jared Goff is the most comfortable with a guy like Graham Glasgow. Graham loves it here. Second stint with the Lions, 32 years old, solid veteran presence. And if he's going to have to miss any time, not that Egwakin can't play, not that a guy like Michael Neese is not serviceable, but for this team to get to that next level, for this team to really thrive, you need a healthy Graham Glasgow. Lining it up from Decker to Mahogany, who we have not talked about enough because he's just been so solid. Glasgow, Ratledge, and Sewell certainly causes fits for the opposition. The Lions have won a lot of football games the last few years because their offensive line has been so good. So the hope is that this is just something that is not major. We probably won't know until Saturday what Glasgow's status is. He's not going to play in the game Saturday, but hopefully maybe Dan Campbell will have a hint on what is going on with Graham Glasgow's lower leg injury. But again, Big Kingsley was the guy that took his place today. One other note about Jared Goff. I don't know if you've seen the interview or not that I believe this was Kay Adams did with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. It's making the way on social media talking about Jared Goff. My goodness. For anybody out there that doesn't think Jared Goff is a franchise quarterback or they're not sold on him, listen to David Montgomery and just type in like Jared Goff as a dog in Google. Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs on this podcast talking about their quarterback and how cool he is and how down he is with his other teammates and like how they rally around him. And Montgomery called him a dog and Jahmyr Gibbs called him a dog and just said, that's my guy. And they're riding with JG, they called him. It's amazing how much respect his teammates have for him. All right. There's going to be some times this season where Jared Goff throws a bad interception. Jared Goff gets pressured and takes a bad sack. It's going to happen. All right. Nobody's perfect. But for the folks that are still not truly believing that this team can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, just listen to Montgomery and Gibbs talk about it. It's amazing. I know, I think Ben Raven put out a piece at mlive.com about it. Montgomery and Gibbs would do anything for their quarterback. It's pretty incredible audio, and check that out as well all over social media. All right, Dave Phipp yesterday, I believe, or maybe it was the day before, was asked about what's going on with kick returns. First and foremost, the NFL has continued to tinker with the kick return, and now they have stressed so much that you must pop up that kickoff into that area, into the receivership area there between the 15-yard line and the end zone. They want returns back, but safely. And so in the preseason, we've seen it. There have not been a lot of touchbacks because those balls are going out to the 35-yard line, and boom, you hit a quick hitter, you're already at midfield. But the Lions have continued to trot out backup linebacker Grant Stewart as the kick returner. And teams are kicking to him. The Dolphins kicked him. I believe last game it was Stewart and Craig Reynolds. And they just kept kicking it to Stewart. And it was funny in the preseason opener in the Hall of Fame game. Stewart fumbled, but it was funny to watch him with his flowing locks and hair under his helmet. It's funny watching a linebacker try to return kicks. Now, here's the thing about Stewart. He runs straight ahead. He's got decent speed. He's an absolute menace on the field. There's not a higher motor player on this team than Grant Stewart. I've watched him practice. I've watched him play. Man, he is high energy. But he's not somebody that handles the football. See, Jacob Saylors was returning kicks the other day. Craig Reynolds can return kicks. I still think Jamison Williams should be back there because of how fast he is and how you've got a running start because of how the kickoff setup is now. There's space to roam. And this notion of, yes, Grant Stewart is your kick returner. He's a linebacker. He doesn't handle the rock. Now, they're practicing him there. Phipp says they're going to continue to go with this. I don't know if this is some preseason gimmick and that once they get to Green Bay, it'll be Craig Reynolds and somebody else. But my concern is this is not somebody that is used to handling a football. He's a linebacker. All right. When you're a running back or a wide receiver, you're taking catches off the jugs gun. You're working on ball protection. Grant Stewart's working on linebacker drills. He's working on shuffling. He's working on hitting the sled. Yes, he's working on pass defense. So yes, if he picks a pass off, he's practicing that. I just don't know if this is going to work. My concern is opening weekend, September 7th, Grant Stewart, they're kicking to him and he's fumbling the ball just because he's not used to it. Lions see something there. I trust Dave Phipp. I'm just not sold. I saw it. First kickoff, the first touch of the season, albeit preseason and Hall of Fame game, dude fumbled the ball. Right? But as of right now, this is still continuing. What's the defensive line looking like if Josh Paschal isn't ready? Well, newsflash, he's not going to be ready for the start of the year. Dan Campbell made that proclamation today. We'll tell you what that means for the rest of the D-line coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today presented to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. All right? If you've linked all your accounts or your accounts with you and your spouse together on Monarch Money, you know how easy it is. It's a one-stop shop. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Big year for Josh Paschal. Josh Paschal is in a contract year for your Detroit Lions. He is somebody that at times has played both edge and interior defensive line and has shown flashes. And at other times, he's been just okay. All right. Well, Josh Paschal, according to Dan Campbell weeks ago, was expected to be back at practice early September. Today, sounds like Campbell is moving the goalposts a little bit. Quote on Josh Paschal from Campbell today: I think Paschal could be a little later than we'd hoped, so that could sting a little bit, end quote. They have not said what Paschal's injury is. It's basically undisclosed. Campbell did say a while back that there was a clean-out surgery that went on with Paschal in the offseason. He's currently on the NFI list, which is the non-football injury list. But now he's not going to be back for the start of the season. All right. So what does that mean for the Lions defensive line? It depends on where you see Paschal. All right. We know this. All right. They're going to give, I don't know if he's going to make the team. They're going to give Broderick Martin an opportunity to be a depth piece. You've got Mekhi Wingo. You've got Roy Lopez. You've got Tyleek Williams, and you've got DJ Reader on the interior until Aleem McNeil comes back. If they figure that Paschal is more of a edge rushing type, all right, Hutchinson and Davenport are your 1-2. Al-Qadim Muhammad, I think, has earned a roster spot and has had a good preseason. Then it's anybody's guess. Right? Patrick O'Connor is there, more of an interior guy. I think Nate Lynn is going to make the team. I think there's a chance that Keith Cooper makes the team. What about Isaac Ukwu? Right? And then there's the Zadarius Smith factor. Latest on Zadarius, according to TMZ, he and Cash Doll are back together and they're vacationing somewhere overseas. He posted on his Instagram the other day that he was just chilling in some pool on some island. I don't know if Darius Smith is, maybe he doesn't want to play anymore. I don't know. I said, what did I say? August 31, we got 10 days. I still think Zadarius Smith is going to be a part of this team. I do. But Josh Paschal was somebody that they expected back in the next couple of weeks, and it doesn't sound like that is going to take place. A little later than they had hoped. And for a guy that's playing in the last year of his deal, I really love the way that Levi Onwuzurike played last year. I think some of it was due to the fact that he was on the last year of his contract. He was trying to make more money. Josh Paschal, it's tough to call. I wouldn't say he's hit expectations, but I also say he's not a bust, right? Could you deem Broderick Martin is kind of a bust draft pick. Sure. Paschal's been all right. Hasn't been great, hasn't been bad, but I love his versatility. I like the fact that he sets the edge pretty well. And it's a position of need on that defensive line and in the edge room where a lot of times he is. But it sounds like it's going to be later rather than sooner that you're going to see him. So it opens up another opportunity for these Nate Lynn's, Isaac Ukwu's, Keith Cooper types to make the roster. The Lions got to find somebody that outside of Aiden Hutchinson, I think Marcus Davenport will do well. I do. I think he's going to stay healthy. Is he really going to get hurt again early? But if the Lions were hopeful that you'd get Paschal back maybe by week 2, and now I don't think that's the case. So we'll see. Tomorrow, again, Jake Riepma will join us from the Locked On Lions squad shows. If I've not heard of the Lions squad shows, twice a week, live shows occur right here on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts, with Jake Riepma, former Lions player and coach Bradford Banta, and Natalie Kerwin. So check out the squad shows wherever you get your podcasts. There's some more bonus Lions content. And Jake is going to join us tomorrow on the program. We'll get his thoughts on the team and get you ready for Lions and Texans Saturday at 1:00 at Ford Field in the, this is it, the preseason finale. We're getting closer to the real deal, ladies and gentlemen, where the Lions will take on the Green Bay Packers September 7th in Green Bay. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody. Checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.